we discussed until 53, shloka number 53 of chapter 2. That was the section where Krishna concluded talking about karmanyevadikaraste principle, or working without detachment to the results of your work. Especially in 53rd shloka, when Krishna used the word nischala, Shruti viprati pannate yada stasyasi nischala samadau achala buddhi tadha yogam avapsyasi. When Krishna used this word nischala, nischala means unwavering, undisturbed. Krishna basically said, after hearing all this knowledge about karma yoga, about nishkama karma yoga, about after you hear about this knowledge, how to work with the detachment from the results, then you should come to a stage of nishcha tattvam. Then after hearing this word, this is a new word, right? Whenever in a even in a college or school, when the kids hear any new word, they ask, what does it mean? So that's exactly what Arjuna did here. In the next shloka, 54th shloka, Arjuna asked, what are the qualities of a person who has this Nischala Tattvam? What are the qualities of a saintly person who has this Nischala Tattvam? Nischala Tattvam, in other words, is known as Sthita-Prajña, Sthita-Prajñata. Steadiness, steadiness of mind, steady intelligence. So the steadiness can be practiced in many faculties, especially steadiness of mind and steadiness of intelligence. Because that's the three components of subtle body: mind, intelligence, and false ego. Okay, false ego is always steady, because false ego always makes you think that you are the body. That's always steady. Until we are in the material world, that is steady. So using mind and intelligence, we have to get rid of that false ego. So we have to develop steadiness of mind and steady intelligence. So that we will discuss in this next section. So starting from 54, shloka number 54 to the end of the chapter 72, Krishna will give two powerful instructions. In this section that we are going to discuss now, Krishna gives instruction steadiness, Sthita-Prajñata, how to become steady in our life. And towards the end of this chapter, starting from shloka number 66 onwards, Krishna gives another powerful instruction. First, he explains the process of fall down, the process of destruction, how one falls from higher consciousness to lower consciousness. Okay, how one is destroyed, basically. How a man or woman, they are destroyed in their life, and how to overcome that. First, he defines the problem. It's a 8-step problem, 8-step process of fall down, and then Krishna gives solution. So these are the two powerful instructions. So basically, second chapter has so many life lessons. If you study this one chapter very thoroughly, if we understand all these instructions, there are 4 or 5 powerful instructions, starting from 2.14, which is art of tolerance, matra sparshastu kaunteya. Then we have art of working, 2.47, karmanyevadikaraste principle. And then now we are going to see art of steadiness, and then finally art of fall down. Art of not falling down. Art of not falling down. Art of progress. We can call it as art of progress. Instead of going down, our motive should be to go up, to progress. Art of progress. So Arjuna is asking, 2.54. Arjuna uvacha स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव स्थितधि किं प्रभासेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम्. And then in the next shloka, Krishna answers. Okay, so first we'll understand Arjuna's question. Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna said, Sthita Prajñasya, of one who is situated in fixed Krishna consciousness. In simple words, of a saintly person. Okay, Sthita Prajñasya means of a saintly person. Whenever you see this word asya in Sanskrit, okay, asya means of. It's a vibhakti, Sanskrit vibhakti usage. Asya means of. Tasya means your. Asya means of. Sthita Prajñasya means of a person who is Sthita Prajña. Of a person who is Sthita Prajña. For example, Krishna, Krishnasya. That means of Krishna. Rama, Ramasya. Of Rama. Asya means of. Okay. OF of. Sthita Prajñasya, of a saintly person. Ka, what? Bhasha, language. Samadhistasya, of one situated in trance. So here also Samadhi stasya, person who is in Samadhi. Keshava or Krishna. Sthitadi, one fixed in Krishna consciousness. Kim, what? Prabhasheta, speaks. Kim, how? Asita, does remain still. Vrajeta, walks. Kim, how? So, translation and purport. You want to read this? Translation, purport. Yeah.
So, translation. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what are the symptoms of one whose consciousness is thus merged in transcendence? Transcendence. How does he speak and what is his language? How does he sit and how does he walk?
Yeah.
Purport. As there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of his particular situation, similarly, one who is Krishna conscious has his particular nature, talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. As a rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man, as a diseased man who has his symptoms by which he is known as diseased, or as a learned man who has his symptoms as a man in the transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. One can know his specific symptoms from the Bhagavad Gita. Most important is how the man is Krishna consciousness speaks. For speech is the most important quality of any man. It is said that a fool is undiscovered as long as he does not speak, and certainly a well-dressed fool cannot be identified unless he speaks. But as soon as he speaks, he reveals himself at once. The immediate symptom of a Krishna conscious man is that he speaks only of Krishna and of matters related to him. Other symptoms then automatically follows as stated.
Stated below. Yeah. So Arjuna is asking, what are the qualities of a Sthita Prajna person? How to identify a saintly person? In simple words, in the society is full of corrupt people. Society is full of cheaters. It's full of cheaters and cheated. As long as there are cheated, there will be cheaters. The reason why there are cheaters is not because cheaters is not the actual problem. The actual problem is, as long as there are people who are ready to be cheated, so long there will be cheaters. Okay. So the people who are ready to be cheated, why they are ready to be cheated? Because of lack of correct knowledge. So when they have correct knowledge, when they cultivate correct knowledge and they become wise, then nobody can cheat them. So that's the difference between a wise person and a foolish person. So especially in the age of Kali Yuga, where dharma is only standing on one leg, that also it is limping, right? It's not actually properly standing on one leg, it is limping. So it is very difficult to identify who is a genuine person and who is a cheater. So Arjuna is asking, on behalf of all of us, Arjuna is asking how to identify a saintly person. Especially, when you want to accept somebody as a guru, when you want to accept somebody as your mentor, as a well-wisher, when you want to accept somebody as a teacher, when you want to accept somebody as an advisor, then you need to assess that person. You need to assess whether he can help you or not. Okay? If his consciousness is lower than your consciousness, then what's the use of consulting that person? So before you can take any advice, any consultation from him, you need to assess his knowledge. That's what they do in interviews, right? Interviews, they don't give the job just like that. They assess your knowledge, and if you are fit for that particular role, if your knowledge is up to the mark, which matches the job profile, then you will be given the job. Similarly, we have every right to choose a guru, to choose a right guru, proper guru, genuine guru. So what are the questions Arjuna is asking? How does he sit and how does he walk? 4 questions basically. He speak. That's a straightforward question. And in the purport, Prabhupada explains that a Krishna conscious person, a saintly person, a sadhu, always speaks about Krishna only. He always speaks about God. They don't waste time. There is something called as Gramya Katha, village talk. Village talk means gossiping, unnecessary talk. So a saintly person doesn't waste time. They're completely absorbed in Krishna, and they're always talking about Krishna. So even if they're talking with so-called non-devotees, even if they're talking to a materialistic person, they'll strike a conversation in such a way that even the mundane routine topics also they'll connect to Krishna consciousness. And if they are talking to somebody in the temple, they talk straight Krishna Katha. Okay, something from Bhagavatam, something from Ramayanam, something from Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata. They'll talk straight Krishna Katha. Or if they're talking to an outsider, like a materialistic person who is not practicing bhakti, there also they'll strike a conversation in such a way that whatever they are talking, they connect to God. So, manasa, vachasa, karmana. Kayena vacha, manasendriyerva, buddhyatmanava, prakrite svabhavat, karomi yadyat sakalam parasmai, narayanayati samarpayami. So what does that shloka? This is the last shloka. By the way, this shloka is from Bhagavatam. We see this in Vishnu Sahasranama and many other kirtans, aratis, right? It's actually, the source is from Bhagavatam. So there, the Navayogendras, there are nine yogis. They are teaching transcendental knowledge, spiritual knowledge to King. His name is Nimi, 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 King Nimi. When these 9 Yogendras, okay, the topmost yogis, okay, Yogendras means topmost yogis. They are teaching spiritual knowledge to King Nimi. They teach this shloka. This shloka basically teaches us how to offer our work, our day-to-day work, how to offer our work to God. At the end of the day, if you recite this shloka, this is like offering the result of our work to God. Because the type of work that we are doing, it's not a direct, it's not directly related to the four varnas, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. And we are not doing direct, devotional service. We are not a full-time pujari in the temple, where you are 24/7, you are doing only devotional service. Since we are not doing that type of work, so be situated wherever you are and continue doing whatever you are doing. But at the end of the day, you offer the result of your work to God by reciting this shloka. That's the best bargain that we can achieve. That's not the best thing, that's not the ideal thing, but given our situation in Kali Yuga and given uh, the the condition that we are in a Grihastha family, we have family, wife, children, uh, so many responsibilities, we have to take care of our job and all those things. We cannot artificially quit everything and practice bhakti, right? So while we are practicing bhakti, whenever we can, and whatever work we are doing, offer the result of that to God by saying kayena vacha manasendriyerva buddhyatmanava. So in all these uh, mantras or shlokas, where you are offering something to God, where you are worshipping God, that process of worship should be done by engaging three things. Kayena vacha manasendriyerva. Kaya means sharira, body. Manasa with your mind. And vata means with your so basically those are the two. So basically those are the three things that we have to check in everybody, right? How that person is. I think whenever a phone call is coming, then the Zoom is getting disconnected. Is it disconnected now or still there? Yeah, I think I'm still there. Yeah. So basically, whenever we are assessing somebody, whether he's a saintly person or not, we have to check these three things. How is their body language? How is their speech? And uh, how is their consciousness? How is their thought process? What are they thinking? What are they thinking? What are they speaking? And what are they doing? An acharya is that person who follows whatever he speaks. An acharya is a person who follows whatever he speaks. Hmm? If you look at the word acharya, right, it comes from the root word acharanam. Acharanam means to execute, to perform, to do, execute. So acharya is that person who walks the talk. Who walks the talk. Whatever he speaks, he will walk by that. So there is a small story of a sadhu. A lady takes her son to the sadhu with a very routine, you know, routine 10 or 12 years age. He's suffering from diabetes. Okay, and this lady, she takes the boy to the sadhu for a solution. And then what's the most practical solution for diabetes? Hmm? Avoid sugar, right? That's the most practical, simple solution. Then instead of giving that answer, the sadhu says, please bring your son after 2-3 months. Okay? Then the lady is surprised. Why the sadhu is saying like this to come back after 2-3 months. Then the lady goes back home and then comes back after 2-3 months. Then again the lady asks the same question. Oh, Swami, please give some solution for my son's diabetes problem. Then this time the sadhu simply says, ask your son to stop sugar, to avoid sugars. The lady this time is even more perplexed, even more surprised. You could have given this solution long time ago only, right? 2-3 months ago when I came to you for the first time, you could have given me the solution. Then the sadhu replies saying that time I was still eating sugars. So if I had given this simple answer that time, it would have not have worked. So first I wanted to quit sugar by myself, then speak the same thing. So then the lady is impressed, and with that strong faith, she goes home and she makes her son avoid sugars, and naturally diabetes will be under control when you stop sugars. So this shows that the words spoken by saintly person will work only if they are following in their life. Otherwise, it's just a parrot talk. Just like a parrot repeats whatever you say. If the sadhu is just repeating words for the sake of speaking something, then it's of no use. The sadhu is a person who realizes this transcendental knowledge, who gets the practical realization, who gets the vijnanam, not just jnanam but vijnanam, and then whatever he speaks in terms of jnanam, knowledge, then that will penetrate the people, and it will work like medicine. Medicine, when you take inside, it penetrates through each and every cell, and then it cures the disease. Similarly, a sadhu, when he is following whatever he is speaking, so that knowledge or that message that sadhu is giving, it penetrates into the hearts of the the listeners, and then it works like medicine. So here Arjuna is asking, how does he speak? A saintly person, how does he speak? And what is his language? Okay. So in the purport, Prabhupada gives an example here. A person remains wise until he opens his mouth. We heard this saying, right? A person remains wise until he opens his mouth. The moment he starts speaking, then we will know whether that person is really a wise person or a fool. What's the difference between a fool and an idiot? There are two categories within that section. There are two categories: fool and idiot. What's the difference between those two? They both sound like synonyms. They both pretty much sound the same, but there's a difference.
Does mistake without knowing, idiot maybe does mistake or tells with knowing, like even after knowing that
Even after knowing?
they may do the mistake.
Oh.
Maybe.
And idiot?
Fool is without knowing they do mistake
Oh.
or saying something.
Yeah.
Idiot is knowing they do mistake.
Oh. No, it's the other way around. Okay. Idiot is a person who does not have the proper knowledge. That's why he makes mistakes. Okay. For example, a child touching the fire. Okay. Child doesn't have the knowledge that fire will burn. So that is idiot. I mean, we don't call the child idiot, but that is the adjective used to describe that activity. Okay, what an idiot you are. But a fool is a person. If an adult does the same thing, if an adult goes and puts his finger in the fire, that is foolishness. Foolishness is you have the knowledge what to do, what not to do. Despite having having the correct knowledge, okay. Swati, can you hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Did you notice it was getting disconnected, connected again? Did
I
you
mean, the
notice the problem?
audio was frozen. I mean, the complete screen
Video was
was
frozen?
frozen. Yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Okay. So we'll see one last time, and if it gets disconnected, I will switch to my phone. So there is a nice subhashitam, okay, talking about fools. Fool in Sanskrit is called as murka. Okay. Yeah. The Sanskrit subhashitams are like some golden words which teach us simple lessons. मूर्खस्य पञ्चचिह्नानि गर्वो धुर्वचनं तथा क्रोधश्च दृढवादश्च परवाक्येष्वनादरः. There are 5 symptoms by which we can identify a murkha, a fool, a foolish person. What are those? Murkhasya panchachihnani. Chihnani means symptoms. Okay, that's what Arjuna asked, right? How does a saintly person ask? Saintly person speak. What are his? Now we can understand that in 2 ways. One is directly knowing what a saintly person does. That is important, and equally important is knowing what the fools speak, what the fools speak, what the fools do, what is the language of the fool. Okay, we have to understand both. Then we'll be able to assess a person correctly. Okay, Murkasya panchachihnani. What are those panchachihnani? Garva, pride. The first one is pride. If you see somebody showing some pride in their speech, that is murka. Okay, durvachanam, and they often speak bad words, durvachanam. Okay, inauspicious words, either bad words or inauspicious things, negative things. Okay, they always speak negative things, or they always speak bad words, durvachanam. Krodha, third one is krodha, anger. They always show anger. For every small thing, for every little thing, they get angry, they get agitated, and they show anger. They keep shouting at others. So that is the third one, krodha. Fourth one, dridavada. Dridavada means they are stubborn. They are stubborn. Dridavada, stubborn. Paravakya anadaraha. Paravakya anadaraha. Not having respect on the words of others. Not having respect on the words of others. Paravakyesh anadaraha. Okay, so let's recite this shloka. Murkasya pancha chihnani garva durvachanam tadha krodascha drudavadhascha paravakyeshanadaraha paravakyeshvanadaraha. Yeah. So pride bordering on ignorance, use of harsh and foul language, anger being rigid even when unwarranted on whatever he says, and contemptuous disrespect towards what others say to him. These are the 5 characteristics of a foolish person. Okay. Now, can somebody give an example of such a person from Shastras who has all these 5 qualities? Who is a Murka? Huh? Duryodhana. Yes. Duryodhana has all these 5 qualities. He has pride. What kind of pride he has? What is he proud about? What is he proud about? Ah, so he thinks that he has, remember we discussed first chapter. So he was assessing the strength of both armies. First he assessed the strength of Pandavas, then he assessed the strength of Kauravas. And he was telling that even though on Pandava's side there is Bhima, all those mighty warriors, but our strength is equally important. Being led by you, O Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya, our strength is immeasurable, he says. Our strength is immeasurable. Hmm? So, so he is proud about the strength of the army on his side. And next one is Garva Durvachanam. Okay. So there is an incident where Dhritarashtra, once he calls his brother Vidura. Whenever Dhritarashtra has any doubt in his mind about Rajya Dharma, he calls Vidura for counseling. So once Vidura comes to the assembly, and then Vidura gives a piece of advice to Dhritarashtra, saying that you should give away the kingdom back to the Pandavas, because they are entitled to rule this kingdom. And Bhima is Bhima is just waiting for an opportunity to kill Duryodhana, to kill your son Duryodhana. And you know the strength of Bhima. He has the strength of 10,000 elephants. Okay, 10,000 elephants combined. Such is the strength of Bhima, and he is, he's ferociously waiting for an opportunity to kill your son Duryodhana. If you don't return the kingdom to them, then your son is destined to be killed in the hands of Bhima. So like that, and he says, you are not only inviting destruction for yourself, but for your son also. So for your own good sake and for the good sake of your son and all the Kauravas, return the kingdom to Pandavas. So when Vidura tells this in front of everyone in the assembly, then Duryodhana gets very angry. And he starts shouting on Vidura using foul words, using bad words, Durvachanam. He says, you are a servant of Shudrani, a servant of a Shudrani. You are not even qualified to speak, not only qualified to speak, but you are not even qualified to be in this assembly. Vidura is a very elderly person to Duryodhana. So For his age itself, he has to give some respect. And he is very intelligent, very sober, a saintly person, a devotee of Krishna. So he has all good qualities. So he has to give respect. Duryodhana has to give respect to Vidura for his age and for his qualities, everything. And for his position, he has a ministry position in the assembly, right? But he doesn't give any respect. He uses bad language, durvachanam, and speaks and insults Vidura. Krodha, anger. Third one is Krodha. He shows anger. Duryodhana shows anger. Dridavada. Duryodhana says, I know what I am doing. You don't have to give me any advice. We know what we are doing is right. So he was very stubborn. He was not ready to take the good piece of advice given by Vidura. That is Dridavada. Paravakye Shanadaraha. Okay? Not having respect for what Vidura was speaking. So, in this incident, we can see examples of two people, a foolish person and a saintly person. What is the behavior of a foolish person and what is the behavior of a saintly person? How does a saintly person talk? What is his language? And how does a murkha talks and on what is his language? Now we understood from this Subhashitam and then from Duryodhana example, we understood all these 5 things Duryodhana exhibited. Now let's try to understand what did Vidura do. Vidura, after hearing all the words spoken by Duryodhana, what did he do? He was quiet. He was not disturbed. He remained silent. And then he put his bow and arrow at the doorstep and he simply walked away. He simply walked away. In fact, he thanked Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana for giving that opportunity that I have been thinking for so long that I am spending a lot of time in this assembly, in the kingdom as a minister. But for a long time I have a desire, unfulfilled desire, that I want to go on a pilgrimage. I want to go on a pilgrimage and I want to be completely absorbed in spiritual activities, in devotional service. So for that, he thanked Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra and simply walked away. So this is how a saintly person talks. Did Vidura talk anything? He did not talk anything. He did not speak anything. But that is the language of a saintly person. A saintly person is never disturbed in situations like this. Okay? Nischala. That is what is called Sthita-Prajñata. In the previous shloka, what did Krishna say? "53rd shloka. What did Krishna say? Shruti viprati pannate yada stasyasi nischala. When your mind is no longer disturbed by the flowery language of the Vedas and when it remains fixed in the trance of self-realization, then you will have attained the divine consciousness. Okay? So here Vidura's mind was nischala, unwavering, undisturbed, unagitated. Duryodhana got agitated because he's a fool. He knows what is the right thing. He knows what to do, what not to do. But despite that, he did the wrong thing. That is his choice. That is his choice. Whereas Vidura, he has the knowledge and he chose not to get disturbed. He chose not to get agitated. And then he simply walked away. In fact, he took it as an opportunity to progress further in his bhakti. And then he went on a pilgrimage where he met Maitreya Rishi, he met Uddhava, he met with all these saintly people, had great philosophical conversations. It's all given in Srimad Bhagavatam in the 3rd canto. So like this, from the same incident, we can see the behavior of two people, a foolish person and then a saintly person. So Arjuna is saying, how does a saintly person speak, and what is his language? So the language of a saintly person is very pleasing. Is always soft spoken. It's very pleasing. Even if he has to tell some harsh truth, he tells in a pleasing manner. There is something called as austerity of speech. Krishna explains that in 17th and 18th chapter. Okay, austerity of speech is that we should speak in such a way that our speech does not disturb, agitate others. It should not create any agitation in the mind of others. That means we should not even speak in a very high voice. Some people have this habit of speaking in high voice. Okay, they keep on shouting unnecessarily. For every small thing, they keep on shouting. So, especially, we see in the families, right? Either mother is shouting on the children, or the wife is shouting on the husband. We see all these things. uh, so when a person speaks in a high voice, it agitates, it disturbs the other person. Shastra says that's a sin. Now the mother, does she have, mother or father, okay, does she have any intention of harming the child? No. But because they are using a high voice, it's a sin, Shastra says. Because not knowing what are the ill effects of that high voice, still you are speaking in a high voice, in a raised voice, then it's a sin. The person who is speaking in a raised voice, he does not know. He does not know that it's wrong. Okay, so he has to read Shastra and he has to cultivate this knowledge. He has to know what is austerity of speech. If you read Bhagavad Gita end to end, all 574 shlokas spoken by Krishna, we will know everything in life. We will know how to lead our life end to end. Every walk of our life, how to do things efficiently in a proper way, we will know everything. There is nothing that Krishna has left. He covered everything, every aspect. And not just for this generation, not just for previous generation, not just for Arjuna, but for time immemorial, this is applicable. This is universal truth. It is timeless wisdom. The same instruction, same matra sparshas to kaunteya, 2.14. It will solve the problems of people for time immemorial, for all times to come. For next 10,000, 20,000, 400,000 years, or trillion number of years. Same instruction. There's no change in that. Okay? We don't have to look for new instructions. Every day one new instruction is not needed. Same instruction, it will work forever. That's the power of Bhagavad Gita. So, if we put our effort in understanding each and every single word of Krishna, then our life will be successful. We'll be happy in our life. So, here Prabhupada is quoting these four things: talking, walking, thinking, and feeling. We discussed during our discussion few weeks or few months ago, when we were learning about the knowledge of the soul. We discussed about consciousness. Consciousness means there are three faculties: thinking, feeling, and willing. Thinking, feeling, and willing. So just like how every person engages these three faculties, thinking, feeling, and willing, in doing anything, similarly, a saintly person also engages these three faculties, thinking, feeling, and willing. How he engages or by looking at the way how he engages these three faculties, we will know what kind of a person he is. And Prabhupada gives an example in the purport, like rich man, okay, looking at his body language. He has a royal walk. He doesn't walk like a normal person, right? He has some dignified look and feel, dignified walking style. His dress style is also dignified. So looking at all these things, we can assess that he's a rich person. Similarly, looking at the way a saintly person is walking, the way he is thinking, because whatever he is thinking in the mind, that's what comes out. Whatever he is thinking in the mind, that's what comes out. Because we cannot know what he is thinking, right? I cannot know what is in your mind. But eventually, the truth will come out. Your thoughts will become words, and your words will become actions. So even though I cannot open your mind and see what thoughts you have in your mind, but sooner or later the thoughts will translate into words, and words will become actions. Actions will get translated into behavior. Behavior will get translated into habit. Habit will get translated into your destiny. Okay. So that way we can assess these three things: karmana, vachasa, manasa. By his body, what the saintly person is doing. The saintly person is saying in the class that cigarette smoking is injurious, or alcohol is prohibited in the Vedas. And if you see him outside drinking alcohol, okay, that's not good. So what is he doing with his body? And vachasa, what is he speaking? What language he is using? Is he talking about Krishna all the time, or is he talking about stock market and something else? Okay, that is language. What is his language? And how does he speak? Whether he is speaking in a pleasing manner. Two things, right? Austerity of speech means two things. One is speaking pleasing words, speaking in a pleasing manner. Even if you have to convey harsh truth, you have to convey that in a pleasing manner. Second thing is choice of words. Choice of words. Choice of words. A saintly person uses words in his sentences which are mostly connected to God. He tries to use different names of God, or different places of God, or different leelas of God, different things about God. He tries to use as much as he can use things related to God. Choice of words. So choice of words is important. Speaking pleasing words is important. Like this. That's why when we are dealing with children, right, we have to be very careful. We have to speak. Uh, we have to speak in a pleasing manner. We have to use the right words. We have to speak in a low voice. So these are very important. Otherwise, they can create harmful impressions on children. Okay, so we'll discuss one more shloka. 2.55. श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते. Okay, by the way, I forgot to tell another thing in the previous shloka. There are 4 questions, right? We only talked about 2 questions. How does he speak and what is his language? The remaining 2 questions are how does he sit and how does he walk? How does he sit means how does he withdraw his senses? How does he walk means how does he engage his senses? Okay, Arjuna is asking in indirect words. Sthita-Prajñasya ka bhasha samadhis tasya keshava sthitadhi krim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Kim asita. Asita means sitting. Kim asita means how does he sit? Vrajeta means to walk. Kim vrajeta means how does he walk? Kimasita, kim vrajeta. How does he sit? How does he walk? That means how does he engage his senses when he is active, when he is doing day-to-day things? How does he engage his senses? And when he is when he is controlling his senses, when there is a dangerous situation, when there is an external disturbance, how does he withdraw his senses? Like Vidura example, right? When he remained silent in such a insulting, defaming situation, he controlled his speech, he controlled his mind, he controlled his intelligence, he controlled his body, he controlled his anger, he controlled everything. That is withdrawing the senses. How does he sit? Okay, it is not to be taken in the literal meaning like sitting on the floor, sitting on the bench like that, but sitting means how does he withdraw his senses, and we saw from the example of Vidura. Okay, and how does he walk? That means how does he engage his senses? A saintly person engages his senses in the service of Krishna. He doesn't do anything for his own personal benefit. Everything he does it for the pleasure of God. Some siddhir haritoshanam. Even the mundane, regular, routine activities also he does as an offering, as a service to the Lord. Even if somebody is, see, you might see a saintly person in the form of a software engineer. It is possible. A software engineer can be saintly. Now, saintly person don't think that a saffron robed, person, an old man, 70, 80 years old man, saffron clothed person, don't think like that. A software person, software engineer who is your colleague, he can be a saintly person. How to identify? Looking at these qualities like this. Okay. Okay. 55. Shri Bhagavanuvacha प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Prajahati gives up, yada, when, Kaman, desires for sense gratification, Sarvan, of all varieties, Partha, or son of Pritha, Mana Gatan, of mental concoction, Atmani, in the pure state of the soul, Eva, certainly, Atmana, by the purified mind, Tushtaha, satisfied, Sthita-Prajña, transcendentally situated, Tada, at that time, Uchate, is said. Okay, somebody online can read this. Swati, are you still there?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, can you read this?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness.
Yeah. Read the purport also.
The Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all the good qualities of the great sages, whereas a person who is not so transcendentally situated has no good qualifications because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concoctions. Consequently, it is rightly said herein that one has to give up all kinds of sense desire manufactured by mental concoction. Artificially, such sense desires cannot be stopped. But if one is engaged in Krishna consciousness, then automatically sense desires subside without extraneous efforts. Therefore, one has to engage himself in Krishna consciousness without hesitation, for this devotional service will instantly help one onto the platform of transcendental consciousness. The highly developed soul always remains satisfied in himself by realizing himself as the eternal servitor of the Supreme Lord. Such a transcendentally situated person has no sense desires resulting from petty materialism. Rather, he remains always happy in his natural position of eternally serving the Supreme Lord.
Yeah. So one of the important qualities of a saintly person is satisfaction. Tushti. Tushti, santushti. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha. Okay? Tushti. A person who is satisfied is peaceful. And a person who is peaceful is happy. So this is the sequence. First, you have to be satisfied. When you are satisfied, then you will be peaceful. In your mind, you will be peaceful. Otherwise, the mind is always agitated. Mind is always going here and there, hankering for sense enjoyment. But when you are satisfied with with whatever you have, right? When you are satisfied, then your mind is peaceful, and when your mind is peaceful, you will have happiness. This is the sequence, hierarchical order. Because Krishna says, Nasti buddhir ayuktasya, nacha ayuktasya bhavanaha, nacha ashantasya kutas sukham. Ashantasya kutas sukham. For a person who is not peaceful, where is the happiness? Without peace, there is no happiness. And without satisfaction, there is no peace. That means without satisfaction, there is no happiness. So one has to be satisfied. That is the quality. And it is a Brahminican quality actually. Whether it is a caste Brahmin or a Brahmin by the Varna system, Varnashrama system, the important quality of a Brahmana is satisfaction. Okay? Being satisfied with whatever they have, limited things, whatever they have, being satisfied and not having unnecessary desires, that is a saintly quality. When a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification which arise from mental concoction, and when his mind thus purified finds satisfaction in the self alone, then he is said to be in pure transcendental consciousness. So this satisfaction comes by seeking happiness within. When we go after the sense objects, when we chase after the sense objects, looking at the external objects for our happiness, then we will never be satisfied. If you find happiness in external objects, the moment you get happiness from one object, you're not satisfied. You want to try something else. And there's no end to it. Sky is the limit for that. So you'll keep on doing that. You'll keep on experimenting different things for your enjoyment, for your pleasure, for your happiness. But if we avoid varieties of desire for sense gratification and be satisfied within, if we seek happiness within, then we will be satisfied. How can we find happiness within? Who is inside? Who is inside us? Krishna as Paramatma, he is inside us. Okay? When we make a connection with him by reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam or Ramayana, scriptures like this, then we make a connection with him. The more you know about him, stronger the connection you make with him. And as the connection becomes stronger, as the bonding becomes stronger, then you feel satisfied. See, for a child, okay, let's say 1-year-old child, child is crying. The mother is in a different room and the child is here. Now you give whatever you give to the child is not satisfied. Child is happy temporarily. Okay, if you give some toy, or these days the phone is the toy. Phone is everything for them. It's like Brahmastra, right? When nothing works, phone will definitely work. So you open some video, some game, and then you give it to them. They are pacified for some time. Okay. Uh, but very soon, in another 2-3 minutes, they'll start crying again. So nothing can give the child satisfaction until the mother comes there. And as soon as the mother comes, then everything is settled. The child is peaceful, no crying, and happy. So is that right? What's your name? Huh? So, what's that? Vaibhavi. Yeah, I forgot. Vaibhavi. Yeah. Is that right, Vaibhavi? Huh? So are you happy when you are with your parents, your father or mother? Yeah? Good. So you're a happy child. So just like that, when we develop this strong connection with Krishna, Krishna is always there. In the example of the child, the mother is not there. For some time, the mother is away from the child. But Krishna is always with us. There is not even a single fraction of a second when Krishna is not with us. He is always there with us, but we are crying like the child, as if Krishna is too far away from us. Why? Because we don't have a connection with Krishna. So we have to make that connection by reading Shastras, by knowing more about Krishna. We have to strength satisfied. You can experiment this for the next 6 months to 1 year. You read whatever is your favorite topic, either Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita. For the next 6 months, in addition to what we are doing in the class weekly once, at home also every day, 15 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever time you are able to spend. You try either hearing or reading, and you will see miracles in your life. You will feel satisfaction. So this is what is, Krishna says in 9th chapter, Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitra Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha Avagamam. You have to experience this knowledge by your own self-realization. You have to perceive this knowledge by your own self-realization. Now, how do we get that self-realization? How do we perceive this knowledge by ourselves? By experimenting it. You put this knowledge to test, you put this knowledge to practice, then you will have some experiences. Okay? So, we'll discuss more about this topic and this shloka in the next class. But for today, the important quality about a saintly person is satisfaction. In the olden days, ancient times, when two saintly persons meet with each other, or when two Brahmins meet with each other, Brahmin means not by caste, Brahma Janati iti Brahmanaha. Whoever knows about Brahma and Parabrahma, they are Brahmin. Even a Shudra, even a labor class person, if he has knowledge of God, he is Brahmin. So when two saintly persons meet with each other, the first question they ask is, are you satisfied? When Krishna meets with Rukmini writes a letter and sends it to Krishna through a Brahmana. The Brahmana is the messenger. The Brahmana takes the the letter and goes to Dwaraka to give it to Krishna. Krishna, as soon as he sees this Brahmana, the first question he asks, are you satisfied? And the same question when Sudama, Krishna's friend, Sudama comes to Dwaraka to see Krishna and ask for some help. The first question Krishna asked to Sudama, are you satisfied? So this is how the conversations used to be. The greetings between two people used to be, are you satisfied? This is the first question. So satisfaction is a great important quality that we all have to cultivate. Okay. So with that, we will conclude. You're right, just right in time. Yeah. Any questions, comments, reflections? Are you all satisfied? Okay. So if nothing, then we will conclude the call here. Grantara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you everyone for joining. Hare Krishna. We'll see you all tomorrow. I mean, next week, not tomorrow. I would love to see you all tomorrow. Yeah.
It's Sunday in another world.
Sunday in another world. Yes.